them in place to keep us in chains. By show of hands, who else is sick and tired of the same? 1% trying to keep us small, trying to keep us from getting out. Minimizing the struggles they've caused, saying we're not working hard enough.
We really should stop this fighting. Otherwise, we'll miss the fireworks.
There won't be any fireworks.
And here we go.
And welcome, everybody, to Suck It. I am the great and powerful King of Kings, Prince of all that is awesome. Derek, how is everybody tonight? On this Thursday, October 20th of the horrible year that has been 2020. Change things up, as you can see. A little bit of a different setup. I'm still trying to tweak it and, messing with stuff, getting lights right, and lights are not right now. But, hey, it is what it is. So for those of you watching, for those of you listening, you won't hear or see anything different. So I appreciate everyone being here. Thank you again for 800,000 last month and climbing, almost getting ready to break 900. So thank you very, very, very much. It is much appreciated. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad that you're here with me. So tonight, on a Friday Eve, I have got a musician / producer on with me tonight, and we're going to have some fun talking the business because something happened not too long ago that I want to discuss with him and see what his reaction is. I just found out personally myself, so maybe he might not even know about it, but let's see what happens there. But lots of good stuff going on, and the music business is struggling right now, but I think it's only going to get better from here. But I guess what we're going to talk about tonight. So without any further ado, please welcome to the show Mr. Fabrizio Grossi. Hey buddy, how are you?
Hey, thank you. How's it going, Derek?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Cool. Just taking a break in the studio, in the other room, started at an early start. So
Well,
so,
that's always a good thing,
Yeah,
I mean, that's getting an early start in the in the studio is always a good thing.
yeah, but the I guess the urban legend that musicians have a sleeping pattern of vampires, right?
That's not an urban legend. I think that's 100% fact.
You know what? Myself and majority of my colleagues, they're like, we're not even early birds. We're the one that wake up the rooster. Or maybe we're so late, we're sleeping so late that it's turning early.
Oh, well.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was reading Einstein earlier, so I was just a little tripping with.
Yeah, I think that's how I pretty much am as well. Yeah, I usually don't go to bed until 3 o'clock in the morning and then get up by noon and start my day at that point.
Nice. I wish I could do that. No. No more.
I get most of my work done when everyone's asleep.
That's true, though. Actually, I think that's the most productive time. If I can manage to, kind of like get either like a kick or something, just to keep me up, because around 10, generally, unless I'm playing, of course, I'm like useless. But if I can kick that 45 minutes, then it's actually great because almost like your productivity, it's almost double.
Yeah.
Nobody's calling you. Emails for whatever reason, in Europe it's still too early. In the US it's too late. You got those 2-3 hours that are, should be, that should be your working day.
I definitely agree with you on that. Definitely. So for those of you, for those that don't know you, go ahead and explain who you are and what you do.
Who am I?
Exactly. Well, I know, but my audience might know.
I was just pulling like an analyze that kind of thing, and it didn't work. No, I'm just kidding. My name is Fabrizio Grossi. My friends call me Fab. I'm a bass player at heart. My daily job is the one of a producer, not only records but also video, live events, and whatnot. And also music consultant for music productions and music manufacturers, and it just everything that is related to music. Recently, about 5 years ago, thanks to the push of a dear friend of mine that you guys already, I mean, you all know, Billy F. Gibbons from ZZ Top. Kind of like I was reminded how good it is to play and not only to sit down and do things in studio and just play like a week out of the year. And I ended up in starting this band called Supersonic Blues Machine. And in 4 years, just kind of like it just turned all our lives around. We went from zero to I mean, nothing insanely huge, but we headline festivals all around the world. We're not touring as much as I would like in terms of like smaller places because the particularity of this band is like it happened in the record and like the whole philosophy and how the project started. We always take some friends with us, and the list of friends varies, depends by their availability on a daily job, but it goes from Billy Gibbons to Eric Gales, so Joe Louis Walker to Robin Ford, Steve Lukather, Lance Lopez. I mean, it's just there's a lot of different artists that came through the door, the Supersonic Blues Machine door, as a guest. And again, we go out and we bring these people, and we have, of course, obviously our material. We just finished to work on the third studio record. Unfortunately, it's not going to be released till almost not a year, but next spring. So we're just trying to come up with something to keep to keep ourselves busy since we lost, basically a whole year of touring, and like a lot of other colleagues, unfortunately. So all that it's great, and one thing led to another. I got this bag, and I started to collaborate with a lot of more friends and musicians that I generally work with during productions in studio most of the time. And we ended up in starting side bands here in Los Angeles to the point where they kind of like rekindled the light of my idea to do a solo project. And with this time with the push of my dear friend Stephen Perkins, drummer whiz extraordinaire, great guy, all around it. Kind of like I got reunited on this idea of doing this project, this my solo stuff. I've been collecting music throughout all my years of productions, and I always give myself an excuse not to be able to continue or to finish it because I was starting another project, or this was the tour, and that, and that, And this time he says, okay, no, I need to finish it, and I ended up in putting all my things down. And also, actually, I was lucky because there was I'm with Supersonic. I not only produce the band, but I write most of the music. We have a couple of co-writers, and also Chris, our guitar player and singer. Hey Chris, he's on the other side of the world because he lives in Devon, UK, and he's pretty awesome with his solo band. They're actually kicking it all over the UK and North Europe. It's Chris Barrett's band. Check them out because they're really cool. Chris obviously worked a lot with the lyrics in this new album, but and some of the music stuff. But a lot of this material was already ready before he joined us, and we had a long selection of music. And where I'm coming from musically, sure, I did a lot of rock stuff. And I'm a rock guy, but I guess, I don't know, maybe because of some experience in the past life, whatever it is, it's always been black music, whether it was blues, soul, R&B, jazz, but old jazz, Coltrane and that kind of stuff. Okay. I always had that bug. And I remember when I was a little kid that the first two records that my mom bought me, I was living in Italy back then. That's where I was born. I was born in Milan. We used to have those things that were like single players, like plastic players where you stick in the 45 and it will play it, and then you just press eject and it will spit it out. And obviously if you flip it, because the good thing about the 45 had side A and side B, just like, the regular vinyls. And that was called single because it would carry, the single artist. So the first two records that I remember she gave me, and I don't know how the hell can I remember that, but I do, was Obladi Oblada and the Rolling Stones, Satisfaction. That kind of like, I guess, opened, a curiosity, interest, and, interest on, obviously I didn't play, I didn't know anything, and I was a little kid. But I guess some of those sounds were resonated very well with me, while some of the other stuff, not necessarily. And between that and my 16th birthday, that's when I decided that I wanted to become a musician. I guess the major music thing that happened, three things that happened, were um, the on Italian TV every Saturday night. There was those TV shows that you can find here on Telemundo on the Latin channels. For you guys that are familiar with the Latin community, I'm talking about the Sábado Gigante and that kind of stuff, right? And where you get an international guest, music guest, right? At least back then. And these music guests will not just come up for one song. They ended up in playing, just like kind of like Saturday Night Live kind of vibe, obviously not necessarily as a comedy, right? And I remember it. I remember that I was 4 years old. I again, don't ask me, but I remember. So think about how much of a shock that was. James Brown performing, and I never heard of the guy, never heard of funk or soul, anything before that. And he comes up, and later, obviously, I found out who was in the lineup. There was, my man Bootsy Collins. So that thing shocked me. I remember that I was like, what? What, and back then we didn't have a VCR or anything like that. So I was just kind of like wanted to know when they were showing that thing again. I will ask my mom and all of it. And I remember that I was like really shocked. So that was the first experience. The second one was when I started junior high, that my classmates from elementary school, I was going to a different town for, family stuff and everything. And they gave me a vinyl of Bob Marley and the Wailers. And that was the live album, the double live Babylon by Bus. That again, I mean, just like an open, really like a real music tour of incredible size. Because again, it was just like a completely different experience. It was not even much the music. I want to learn the music. I like the vibe. I like this, I don't know, vibration, whatever it is that you call it that comes out. It was just, very, very magic. And I had the pleasure to see the only concert of Bob Marley is ever done in Italy, in Milan, and he played in front of 100,000 people. That was just like another world experience. I remember that was like my first big show. I was probably 10 years old or something like that. It was insane. So those two things. And the third one was like, I was getting familiar at that time with some bands. You have to understand that Italy back then was not like Italy now. So, it was not really like a ground for rock. No. So it was like Italian music, Spanish or French music, like pop and all of that. And then some of these, like, you will get like things like crazy. You get like Earth, Wind and Fire, Sly and the Family Stone. And then you don't get the basic things. You don't get, I don't know, Ozzy Osbourne or Black Sabbath or anything like that. No. I mean, sure, of course, we know what they were, but it was not accessible, on a daily basis. So you get this thing, and they were like really particular. So the sound, I got some of these music, and then all of a sudden, the band, Queen started to play, and AC/DC started to come around. Of course they were already active, and some of them were already broken up, but I was getting familiar and start to hear those sounds when a friend of mine got us together in a room. We were like 4 or 5 kids. We just started playing guitar. Okay, so give you like maybe 3 weeks. So you know what the instrument is. You don't know how to play shit. It's kind of like you're struggling around a couple of chords. Maybe you already learn how to play Smoke on the Water. And so, you're attracted. And it's like you want to know everything about guitar. That was my, how I started. I didn't turn to bass. Actually, they made me turn to bass. Till this guy puts on the turntable Van Halen 1. After Running with the Devil, everybody was, jaw was like, huh? We were talking about kids, okay? So 10 years old, again, I don't even, electric guitar, I thought, you need to plug it in the wall, kind of, so I don't even know what an amp is or anything, right? So we hear this thing, and he's saying, and when Eruption came up, we all thought that was a keyboard, because there was no way seriously, kids were betting their lunch, that's a keyboard, that's a guitar, to try to understand what this thing was. So these things are very, very fundamental, because they really made me love the world of music. And then obviously I saw, a couple of other things that really helped me turn it. One being Queen with Freddie Mercury, and the other one, the lineup, the original lineup of Whitesnake at Castle Donington in the UK. They did a phenomenal show. There were like 140,000 people, and when they play "Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City," it was just, I don't know. I mean, I still get goosebumps thinking about it now. And I told the guys, and that's why with Supersonic Blues Machine we did the cover of that song on our first record. For me, because of this experience, and Lance Lopez, that was our singer guitar player for the first two records. It was originally a guitar player for Bobby Blue Bland, who's the guy that made that song famous. Actually, Whitesnake rendition. It's a cover. It's not the original. Somebody else named Bobby Blue Bland wrote the song. So, and that's how we all started.
That's a pretty interesting story. I mean, because even now today, I mean, if you think about, internationally known, rock bands at all coming out of Italy, I can only think of like one.
Really?
Yeah, I can only think of.
Ooh, because I would like to know.
Lacuna Coil.
Oh, right. Of course. Yes. Yeah. Because of, I mean, they were the one that kind of like on the heavy side that,
Yeah.
came over here. Well, actually, I want to give my old country justice. Not that I listened to that stuff, but there was like a time in the 90s between 92, 93, up to, I would say, 97, 98, that I don't know if you're familiar with the whole, power metal movement.
Of course.
Actually, Italy was like, what Seattle ended up in being for grunge music. So you had Rhapsody of Fire, and all those bands. They sold actually millions. And funny enough, people in Italy that didn't listen to even people in the recording industry, some of them didn't even know about the existence of these artists. So just to tell you how much people over there care about rock. Now is different. Now.
Oh yeah, I mean, in pretty much all of Europe and into the Scandinavian countries and stuff like that. I mean, rock is king. I mean, rap and R&B and jazz and stuff like that is popular, but rock and metal are king in Europe. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, if you look at Download Festival in the UK every year, 100,000 people show up every year for that. And then the same thing with Rock am Ring in Germany every year. 100,000+ people. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, and unfortunately, rock just is big here, but it's just not as big as it is over there. And it's a sad thing to see, that style of music just kind of, it's not falling to the wayside by any means. And there's still a huge movement going on here in the States, but it's not what it should be.
Well, I guess that was the same thing that our parents said, when what we like as a kid was coming around. Unfortunately, it's I guess it's evolution or involution, as some people will put it. But the thing is, to be honest with you, regardless of the whole state of the industry in terms of like record sales or anything like that, because sales is not even a word that you can use, because since the music, it's not a commodity no more. It's just actually it's a marketing tool for everything else. That if you can sell whatever else you have to sell, so basically it's a business card. So there's not really, there's not really price tag or kind of like an industry on business cards. But the actual amount of interest and turnaround, especially on the live front, merchandise, marketing, because these companies from social media companies like Instagram or Facebook, that seems very, very popular for some reason among metal artists, they make millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of advertisements for bands and artists. They're coming actually from the hard rock scene. The thing is, it's not that it died. It didn't die at all. But obviously, there is an outgrowth of population, and a lot of the people that a lot of other things. So the number of rock fan, it's not that all of a sudden got slashed like the numbers of record sales. Quite not. Actually grew. Unfortunately, like everything else, everything grows, I guess exponentially. So whatever it's popular, it's not only popular, it becomes over popular. So that's why you're like overcrowded with everything else. But
Yeah.
I mean, right now we also have this kind of technology where you pretty much you can go and look for whatever you want and listen to whatever you want. You don't have to deal with what it's been sent to you or play to you unless you don't want to follow it. You can tell me, sure, well, we had rock radio stations before, yes, but if you remember when MTV came around, actually in the beginning it was pretty cool. We didn't have MTV in Italy, so I started to watch like recordings of MTV was when I was like 16, 17 to some friends. But after already the second half of the 80s, like end of the 80s, early 90s, it was becoming a thing where they were, it was like either like CNN or Fox for politics, meaning like, dude, we have an agenda and we're sticking to it. So it was starting to get like, sidetrack. And of course, that's what you would watch to watch music videos because there was nothing else. Then it started with VH1, which was a little bit more like on the classic rock end. And then VH1 ended up in becoming pretty much MTV Light, and MTV started to do
reality TV.
shows. So I mean, that's what. If you think about it today, between Vivo, YouTube, and all the social medias and platforms, and even stuff that it's not even listed here in the US, but they're available worldwide. Especially in Asia, and the whole South Pacific Rim. I mean, you can find out all the artists that you want. You can be watching videos and find out about all the artists that you like. I mean, nonstop. I mean, you can go on for weeks. That's phenomenal. And then nothing like that has ever been available to us. So I think that, in terms of it, I think it's really cool. And, people that have the passion for following, such a genre or phenomenon, they're keeping up, dude. Listen, I know, like I said, I'm not only producing records, but I often get involved with the production of live events and tours. And I ended up being involved in a production of several festivals that actually covered, metal music. You don't want to know. Even in the middle of freaking the beaches of Bulgaria, 120 miles away from the nearest airport, 7,000 people losing their shit. And after the rain and all of that, just to see, Michael Schenker and, Striper and stuff like that. So that thing is still very alive, very much. I think everything else grew too. So
yeah. Well, and actually, that's what I was going to bring up, and this is actually the news that I was talking about at the beginning of the show. My little monologue was just as I was getting ready to come downstairs. I was playing on Facebook, and I noticed on Facebook an advertisement for a festival for next year. So it's huge in the rock world. So if anyone's ever heard of Aftershock Fest is supposed to be going on next year, October, like 4 days in October in Sacramento, California, headlined by Metallica. That was just announced today.
Mm-hmm.
So Metallica's it's gonna be 4 days. It'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Friday and Sunday, Metallica is headlining. My Chemical Romance is headlining on Saturday, and Limp Bizkit is headlining on Thursday, which is kind of weird. But I mean, the amount of bands is booked for it is ridiculous. It's got to be 75 bands. But what got me about it was this is the first concert or festival that I've heard announced, period, for all of 2021. And I was just like, ooh, is it going to be coming back next year, or is this just going to be something that could end up being canceled? So, I mean, what are you thinking right now?
Well, I'm in constant touch with our agents here in the Americas and in Europe, because obviously, you're working with a couple of different people, and the scenarios are completely different. We have, for example, some, anchor dates already for next summer. Some festivals and our, tour, I guess, theater production tour, whatever it is, it should go on in October and November. So far, it seems to be okay, and they kind of like working. So it's not that there is anything insane. I mean, these kind of like negotiations are being going on. Our guitar player, I was saying, Chris Barras, actually during the month of September is going to tour throughout the whole UK and Northern Europe with Blackstone Cherry. So they already have a sold out tour.
Very nice.
We book. So, I mean, they re-announced it. So as per now, those things are on. you need to see what it changes, because, for example, right now what's going on, it's happening, something that in England they would not even, I mean, they never thought it would have happened again. They're actually dealing with 3 weeks of lockdown, when up to 2 months ago, 3 months ago, my agent was like, "Oh man, cool, yeah, we got, next June we're doing this and that." So they were already thinking in terms of like proactively and positively just moving forward. And the problem for them is the serious paperwork, because every single time there is a cancellation and then a rebooking, the amount of paperwork and exchanges is just ridiculous. So legal costs, they're like stupid. So with that in mind, that's Europe. But Europe got a way better and way longer head start on us when it came down to these kind of things. And to be honest with you, even though right now the situation is pretty effed up, they seem to have their shit together better than us at the moment. So if they all stick to what they're supposed to be doing and what they did originally, maybe. Here, they're changing the story of on us every day, and so you do not really know what to listen. I'm not trying to make it a political thing. Actually, I'm completely pissed off about politics. In the last 6 months, I've been talking to a bunch of friends of mine on both sides of the aisle. We're kind of like running up to, to a point where, why us have to kind of like go crazy at each other? I mean, does anybody of these people representing us will do that when they are away from the cameras? No, they won't. So fuck it. So I'm not saying this because I'm want to blame one side or the other. I'm just saying it's like we do not know to listen to it, because whether if you're from the right and you just try to understand something about what they're, these regulations and all of it. And I'm telling you, because these are concerns from the agencies and people in the business, actually, promoters, venues, and a bunch of other colleagues in that sense. So let's say you're like a person that politically tends to be on the right, and they tell you a bunch of things coming from, I guess, left-leaning media, and kind of like it gets you puzzled. So you think that it's the opposite of what they're saying, right? Now, let's say that you, for example, on a little bit tending left, and you think that everything that is coming from the right media is BS. Guess what? It's just like you have two, and at some point it becomes like 4, 5, 6 different variation of the same narrative, and you do not know what to do. I mean, California did pretty good during the first lockdown, and we actually, with some of the agency here, we even had a bunch of shows that we were producing for the end of the year and the beginning of next year, to the point where we're already planning a bunch of events around NAMM show, which is generally around the third week of January. And so good, great, perfect. Everything goes on, everything moves on. And then the whole thing just breaks loose. And again, wear the mask. No, don't wear the mask. It's in the air. No, it's not in the air. No, but we need to open. Okay, let's open. Then Santa Barbara and Ventura County, they don't really have any cases. So you can go to the beach, you can go to the restaurant, you can dine in, you can dine out, and all of that. But in LA County, you can't. But okay, let me tell you something, you geniuses. What do you think is going to take me, from me to Santa Clarita, to drive to Ventura, so cross county and go to a restaurant? Let's say I'm coming from Los Angeles. I mean, I live in Santa Clarita, but I'm spending maybe all my days in downtown, and maybe I'm picking up the bug over there and I'm taking it there. I mean, are you blocking the streets? Are you blocking the county? Because unfortunately, that's what they were doing in Europe. In March and in April, I was talking to some of my relatives in Italy, but also some of my other colleagues in the UK and in Germany and in France, especially. I mean, you cannot leave your little town to go to the next one. I mean, you can get around once the cases are clear. You don't need to, there was no like lockdown where you couldn't get out of the house and all of that. But it's not that you can take your car and go across, I'm going Los Angeles, San Diego just because. No, you cannot. What the hell are you going to San Diego for? Well, I want to go see, SeaWorld from the outside. Since he goes, no, you ain't going to see SeaWorld. Go back home. Unless you do that, it's just open. So my thing is like, I'm not going to mention name, but been talking to, I would say, two vice president and a president of 3 of the biggest live entertainment agencies in the world. All their response is, "Oh, we'll talk about it next summer." And I'm saying, "We'll talk about it," meaning next summer we can talk about it. Then let's see what. But their point is in relation to events like the one that you just mentioned, meaning For what I know, for what I'm being told, and for the kind of action that I see around um, colleagues of mine and friends that are in, bands like mine, in bands like smaller than mine, and bands like bigger than mine, or in super super bands, is that unfortunately those big festivals like Monster of Rock type of thing and all of that, those are going to be really the last thing to happen. You most likely gonna have in terms of like a tendency that it's not, to a drive-in, or in like in those in the UK have these like rings, like boxing ring kind of vibe. I mean, like as big as, maybe a little bit bigger than a king size bed, when you have like a little table, couple of chairs and stuff, and that's your family. And then you have like your 6-7 feet from the other. I mean, this is for open spaces, right? They did a couple of things like that, and they did it in Scandinavia. I think it was in Finland. I'm not sure. I don't think it was Sweden. I think it was Finland, and that was the new thing. So I don't think, to be honest with you, that you're gonna be ramming. I mean, just think about it. Metallica, and My Chemical Romance and bands like that already alone are worth 50, 60, 70,000 people in a place, in a close, not close place, but in a open air probably, but like confined space, I don't really think so. Sure, probably you can get bands that can live or perform for 1,000 people, 800 people, 1,500, because there's plenty of venues that can cover up to 2,500, 3,000. So in a venue of 3,000, or like an amphitheater kind of vibe, there is a lot of places, especially with colleges, in towns that they have colleges, that they have this kind of like amphitheater type of structure, even on the sport end. You might end up in doing something like that, sure. And that's pretty much what I'm hearing throughout the industry. But in terms of like having like those big ass festivals like Coachella and stuff like that, dude, I don't think we can talk about it till 2022. Because even if this vaccine comes up, actually today, an half hour ago, I just got notification. The FDA just approved officially, and they're selling it worldwide now, remdesivir as a cure for COVID-19. Meaning it's not a vaccine, but you take it and it takes care of it. And we all knew that. Japanese, they have something similar. It's been around for like 14 years. They've been using it. They were prevented to sell it to us in the States because obviously Fujifilm, with Chinese money making that, and none of that money would have come to our state coffers for taxes. This is like, no. Let's come up with our version, and then we'll talk about it. And just pretty much exactly what it is. So this is a great thing. And I guess people probably would be more inclined maybe to take a medication if they get sick than not to go out and get a vaccine, because we have to consider that too. Who's going to be, are you going to go get a vaccine as soon as it comes up, if like next week?
Hell no.
Hell no. I'm sorry.
Hell no.
I already don't take like a flu vaccine or anything like that. I'm not saying that I'm opposed to, but it takes some time. In other words, if you plant a seed today, before you get a tree, it's going to take a couple of years. Okay? So if a tree grows overnight, I don't know what kind of juju you put in there, man. But, and also, to be honest with you, we all know that everything goes around the economics. And with all the food manipulation, especially on the genetic end, GMOs and stuff like that, do you really want to risk, to take the first thing that is being given to you, so these people can basically go back to their business, make a fortune out of these vaccines, so they can send kids back to school, so they can parents go back to work and start the whole thing again, and probably dealing with like fourth, fifth, and fifth wave. So I don't know. I think even with the vaccine, it will take a bit for a vaccine to acquire confidence and security, and also the distribution of it. One good thing would be if all our government will get their shit together and do, like, for example, what they do in South Korea, like instant testing. And it's very interesting how they're dealing with this thing, because in Taiwan as well, because it works actually on a detection of a particular protein of the virus, which is immediate. So how about we invest on that? And we do like one of those tests where you got really the results back in 5 minutes. You do that before you get on a plane. You do that before you get to a show. You do that before you get to a restaurant, before you get to the gym. You have to, really, would you be against that? 5 minutes that could save your life, but it could let you actually enjoy what you need to do because you know that there is no problem and the people around you don't.
Yeah,
That's the reality.
yeah.
Unfortunately, plays against somebody else's agenda, and our industry is just really in shambles because of that. I mean, again, I'm hearing from these big guys in the agencies, but these are people that
Fabrizio. Uh-oh. I think I lost him. Beauty of live. Fabrizio. Yeah, I lost him. All right. So, while we're waiting on him to come back, let's see if I can get him to reconnect. I'm going to go ahead and try to sell you something. All right, be right back. Guys, have you ever wondered how you can help support the channel and also look fucking cool in the process? Go to the link down below, www.dckproductions.com/shop to get the awesomest merch on the market today. Whether you just want to get one of our plain logos in one of our many different colors, or if you want to get one of our cool graphic tees that just are funny as hell. The choice is yours. But definitely pick up your choice of any one of these shirts in any color, any size, any style that you choose at www.dckproductions.com/shop or click the link in the bio. Thank you, guys. All right, so I'm not sure exactly what happened with Fabrizio, but hopefully he'll reconnect. Maybe he lost power, lost internet service, either way. But anyway, I wanted to talk more about Aftershock because I want to go ahead and give you guys a little bit more info because it just it looks amazing. So here's the lineup for next October, the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th of October in Discovery Park in Sacramento, California. It's going to be on Friday, Metallica, Rancid, Volbeat, Seether, Live, Skillet, Suicidal Tendency, Avatar, Pop Evil, Butcher Babies, and then a bunch of smaller bands. And then Saturday is My Chemical Romance, The Offspring, Machine Gun Kelly, Gojira. Some band is returning for a one-time only reunion. It's just a bunch of question marks. They're not saying who it is. Anthrax, Killswitch Engage, Asking Alexandria, Body Count, and Bad Flower. And now, Fabrizio's back, and we'll bring him back on. All right, and we'll talk more about this in a second. Hey, man.
Dude, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. Because both myself and my friend, my band partner next door, the world famous Kenny Aronoff, was doing actually a podcast too, and we were both like on the line. What happened? I don't know. Everything went off for a second. It's strange. We have a T1 line, so I don't get it. But glad to be back though.
Yeah, I was just kind of going over some of the bands, announcing the bands that I was talking about earlier. Like I said, this thing is just stacked. But like you were saying, it's we're not going to be ready for it. I don't think a year from now, I don't think we're going to be ready for it. I mean, and just because I know we talked about it momentarily, but it is going to be open air. It's going to be at Discovery Park in Sacramento. I don't know where that is, but it's going to be open air. So that's a good thing. But like you said, I mean, 70, 80,000 people, it's going to be tough. I mean, and like you said, like we were just talking about before we got cut off, the vaccine, there's going to be some people that run out and get it right away. But you know what? Those are the people that are going to be the guinea pigs, unfortunately.
Yeah, they got kids with an elbow sticking out from the nose and that kind of shit.
Yeah, so I'm not going to fucking touch it with a 10-foot pole for at least a year or two. But still, it's just, you know, I've said this 110 times on this show, and I've only had 104 episodes, but still. um, I was at 10 different shows last year. I went and saw Metallica. I went and saw Nothing More. I went and saw Falling in Reverse, Ice Nine Kills. The list goes on and on and on for all the different shows I went to last year. And me, like everybody else, big old goose egg. I mean, and to have that complete 180, especially with something like music. Music's such a huge part of our life. Movies, yeah, we don't necessarily have to go to a theater to watch a good movie. We can watch a good movie from our own, come from our own home. Technology has gotten to that point where, we can surround sound our house and have, 65, 80, 90-inch TVs and, get that theater experience at home for a lot cheaper. But going to a concert is nothing like it in the world. I mean, it is a time for unity. It is a time for, just enjoying, each other's company, being there for the music and the appreciation for the bands that work their asses off, killing themselves 300 dates a year because they ain't making money off of album sales anymore. But they're out there grinding and grinding and grinding, to do whatever they can. And, for the artists this year, it's got to be horrible. For the fans, it's been horrible. I mean, I can't imagine another year of this as far as musically goes, but I can't imagine it coming back next year either.
Well, like I said, I mean, I always wanted to keep it positive. I mean, there's a lot of things that are, I guess, better now than where they were 6 months ago. I think that, at least doctors and people in general, I'm thinking sane people, okay? Kind of like learn how to deal with it. Not saying that they found the solution, but at least they know how to deal with it. They know what they're dealing with. And that actually helps. I do believe that, like everything, if you manage, if you're smart about it, you can manage to do things. Of course, I mean, it might be, it's going to be a gradual thing, and it's really sad. But the thing for me is that I think that probably this is actually a great. And I don't say this in a disrespectful way with my colleagues or everybody else that works in this industry, but kind of like how do you call it, a great reset for everybody. Meaning, yo, chill the fuck down, man. Because at the end of the day, I don't care if you play in front of 90,000 people or this kid next door is playing in front of 37 people. Tonight, you ain't playing in front of nobody, both of you. Okay, so you're flying in with the helicopter and and all that kind of stuff, and it just, dude, chill. So it gets a lot of people to kind of like all of a sudden think about what they have, appreciate it more, and also start to kind of like really going back to understand what it was that got them in there in the first place. Meaning, dude, you got there because you had so much passion doing this. It was not just a business. Now it's sad that because you have to learn this lesson, everybody else has to suffer, unfortunately, because there's a lot of people that, need to play, like you were saying, 200 shows a year, 300 shows a year just to pay rent, So I'm a musician. Okay. So, and even though I don't do metal, I mean, the story is the same,
Oh yeah. Doesn't matter what genre. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So that's a reality for everybody. But unfortunately, the public thinks if you're a professional musician, they think that you're driving a Mercedes, you have a house on the hills, and all that kind of stuff. Dude, no. It's like if you're working in the movies, do you think everybody's getting paid like Brad Pitt? I don't think so. Because otherwise there wouldn't be any business in movies. So that's the thing, and the thing that it's really hard, and I guess kind of like I got a lot of colleagues to snap and kind of, I would say more like a little bit more of a sense of a community among musicians and all of that, is the fact that just think how sad this thing is. You cannot perform with your band or live and do your thing, so obviously your income is completely shuttered. However, if you're the singer or the singer guitar player in the band, you can, for the first few months of the lockdown or whatever it was, just get on one of these things, play your little show from your living room. Maybe you get tipped or something, or you start to participate to all these tributes that are happening online, and at least you're keeping busy. Maybe you make a little money. Maybe you come up with something, you sell some merchandise, and okay. Now, how about the bass player in the band or the drummer in the band? How about the light engineer? How about the sound engineer? How about your guitar tech? How about your tour manager? I mean, these guys cannot go on Facebook Live and do a show. What are they going to do? When are they going to show you how to set up a guitar? There's already plenty of tutorial on YouTube that talk about that. So the thing is, there's always a lot of camaraderism among musicians of a certain level, and I'm really happy about that. I embrace that, and thank God that the majority of my colleagues that now are friends helped me from the beginning. There was no weird issue, and there is always this kind of like a brotherhood kind of friendship or respect among the musicians. But don't get me wrong, if you are not from the cool band, or if whatever it is, there's a lot of other people in our community that don't treat you the same. Yeah. And if that's the treatment that you do not get because you're not that particular guy, or you're not that particular guy in the band, or whatever it is, think if that is just so stupid and applies to musicians. So think what kind of disrespectful kind of attitude you have, these kind of people have against operators. People that load and unload the truck for the shows, that help to set up. Packers. Light crew, sound crew, and all of that. The thing that I saw is just actually more communication among that, among all of us on this kind of like. Now all of a sudden realized there was not, oh, I'm getting on stage when I have to play and I'm leaving. I mean, a lot of us, know that. I'm always the first one that gets the sound check and the last one to leave the venue at the end of the show, because I need to say thanks to everybody. But because, I like to be part, and I did it when I was in Italy. For me, that was the way for me to learn how to speak English, was to work at concerts. And work with the American crew and the English crews. Always preferred to work with the American crews, because with the English crews, I could not understand one single word. They were all from like East or South London, and it was just like, oh my God, what the hell are they talking about? So, actually the Americans were easier to understand. And so I know the kind of work that it is, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Well,
I need to hire a lighting guy to come over to my house, because I cannot seem to get my lighting right today after I rearranged my studio and moved my camera and got a new camera. I got like a $1,200 Canon camera, and I can't get the frickin' lighting right. I'm pissed off.
Well, there's plenty of light engineers out there. They're looking for a good.
I know. I got all the lights. Please, just come here and help me redo this, because apparently, when I was in my tiny little corner, just doing it in a little sound booth, I was fine. But now that I'm in an open space, I can't figure out to save my life.
Open, it's safer. Yeah.
It is. I'm gonna play with it after we're done, and I'm gonna play with it all day tomorrow. It's like, it's like, okay, whatever. But you're right. I mean, the sound techs, the light guys, the roadies. I mean, just everybody. What's going on with them right now? We're not hearing about them, and how many of those bands are actually still paying them? The big money bands, they're not.
Well, no, wait. There's some
that are.
I'm not going to talk about the bad guys, but I'm going to talk about the good guys. Yeah. There are a lot of bands there, more in my world, which is blues, soul, funk, R&B, neo, whatever, all that, that means from B.B. King all the way to Gary Clark Jr.,
Yeah.
Vintage Trouble, and Marcus King and Eric Gales and all those guys. But as a producer, I worked with a lot of rock guys too. So I have my family over there, and I have to say that there are a lot of great guys like the Peppers or the Fighters, and they're taking care of their crew like there's no tomorrow.
Good.
It's always been like that. The respect that those guys have for the people they're working with, that's really a family. That's like a team that work together. Because when you're at that level and you have to deal with that much stuff and everything, you either have your shit together or you're out. Or because it just takes one person to screw the whole thing up. And and to keep up with those rhythms of work and traveling and all of that, it's not only a money thing, and they need to treat you right, but also on a personal level. You need to enjoy what you're doing, because otherwise it's who's gonna like to stay away like 9 months or 10 months a year from your family and all of that, and just coming back and pretty much getting paid like somebody that works at 7-Eleven, and on top of it being yelled at it. No, those guys are plotted by, and it's not only them. There is plenty of people that do the right thing and try to do the right thing. So it's not all bunch of vampires, bloodsuckers, but there are a few.
And there are, and that's and that's the thing that sucks. Like I said, I mean, because those guys work hard. I mean, I remember back in the I hate saying this, but back in the day when I used to do promotional work for Roadrunner Records, I would go to all the different shows all throughout Florida, hand out flyers, hand out CDs and blah 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 blah, do the normal promotional stuff for concerts. And I would always go backstage, get my backstage passes, and go say hi to the the bands or whatever else. But I always made sure to go and thank the sound people. Hey, as I was walking backstage, if I saw them, like, hey, thanks guys, you guys did a great job tonight, whatever, and they love hearing that too. I mean, they don't get the recognition they deserve. They don't.
Something that you just brought back to mind. When my last year in Italy, I was working. I was always been a musician. So I was in band and all of that, and actually was really. I was making actually even decent money. I was playing with a lot of, Italian artists and all of that, not much rock anyways, and I was also working concerts as a stage manager, because at that point I could kind of deal properly with, English speaking crews. Aerosmith playing, I was a crew in charge, one of the stage manager at the Monster of Rock. And that year Whitesnake and Aerosmith and a bunch of other bands played. I remember that there was Aerosmith had like 4 green rooms. And one was the largest of all, I guess that we thought that's where they do, meeting with the press and all of that. And it had every possible thing in it. Cold cuts, fruit, beers, alcohol. I mean, it was like a club, restaurant, whatever it is, right? So we're bringing a couple of cases roll a couple of cases into the room and everything. And that was like a little before the show. And inside there was like all plates, like T-shirts, merchandise, and everything. I think we made a mistake. Looks like merch. Take it out. And here comes Steven Tyler with Joe Perry and a couple of other guys that I do not know who they were, because I guess they were tour manager, whatever it is. We were just workers there. And it says, "Thank you so much, guys, to put together the whole thing so quick and fantastic. We just really, really appreciate what you guys did." We were the local crew, not even their crew. All those shirts and all the records and all of that's for you to keep, and the room is for you. So after you're done, guys, just have a party on us.
Oh, that's awesome!
How cool is that? I mean, how cool is that? They just dropped probably like $5,000 or $6,000 on the local crew to show them a good time, because. Thank you. I mean, that was like one of those things where you have 12 bands and 12 bands at those level back then, with like 90,000 people. So I think the production is massive, and there is a turnaround of people that is insane. Everybody's losing their minds. And you got people acting like that, it's fantastic,
That's awesome. That, man, I've heard nothing but good things about Steven Tyler and the rest of the guys at Aerosmith. So, to be honest with you, that story, while is amazing and badass, it doesn't surprise me, because I just heard nothing but good things about those guys. Mm-hmm. But again, regardless of that, that kind of stuff, one of my favorite bands, and I'm not going to call them out, because I don't want to. They're one of my absolute favorite bands, because I never know who's watching, so or who's listening tomorrow. With 800,000 downloads a month, you never know who's listening. But anyway, they came out and put out a press release a week or two ago, talking about how they're working hard in the studio, and they're doing they're writing some music, and they're doing this and they're doing that, but they're not going to release it until they're able to tour, because the music that they make needs a tour to go along with it, in order for it to have the type of power that it needs to have. Now, while I get that, now whether or not, we're not going to release it until, because, the singer's sick, or, somebody broke their leg, or we can't tour because of, this. But when, the fans are at home, and it's been 3 years since they've released an album, and the last album wasn't even that great to begin with. And it's like, guys, you're one of the biggest bands in the world. Give us something. Give us a new single. Give us something. But no, we're not going to be able to do this. We're not going to be able to give you anything until we know that we can go out and tour. And that sucks as a fan.
Well, listen, I don't know the artist that you're talking about, but there is also a reality that that we have to face, that it's part of the actual music business nowadays.
Yeah.
That a record, like we're saying before, was one of the part of the income streams of an artist, of a recording artist, of a musician. It was, albums, sales, publishing, live shows, and merchandise, right? Those were the four pillars. Well, now all of a sudden, the sales, and the publishing got majorly cut, because sure, you have more options to license music for internet programs, movies, commercials, and all of that, sure. It's not a guaranteed stream of it. And there is so much competition that even people that were used to do it before, now they're coming up with all possible ideas with libraries and all of that, where pretty much the person that needs to do advertisement, or the agency, make the most of the profit, and the artists work pretty much for a bulk fee. So that's kind of crazy. You have to consider that the record is the only tool that you have to before you would tour to sell records. Now you release a record to tour, and this is a reality that's been going on for the last 7-8 years, and it got worse and worse and worse, to a point where the fact that you have a record means that a journalist and the media machines, or whatever it is, will talk about it. Obviously you have a publicist, they put in together, like, what we're doing now, and all over the world, obviously reviews from newspapers or from websites and all that kind of stuff. They do that because there is a record, and so there is something that it's there, documented, that people can listen to it, they can talk about it, you have a conversation, and you advertise what's going on, and then obviously you advertise your tour, it comes around, people create interest, they wanted to see the new songs, how the artist developed. I get it. I know that as a fan could be frustrating, but the problem is, do you understand how much it cost me to do a record? It's not the question of what it cost me, because most of those bands already have their own studio. So, those things already paid for, but the amount of time that you have to put in. I have a studio myself, and it's, the record that I'm doing for myself, for my band, or for my other clients, it requires time. So even if I don't have to pay anybody personally, me investing 120, 140 hours a week, or means that 140 hours a week that I'm not busy, doing something that, would feed me, so they have to understand that creating a record, it's something that it's a big work. Even if you put it together quickly itself, it's a big work, because you have to write it, you have to prepare it, then you're going to create it. And if I release something now, and I'm not going to be able to tour for the next 2 years, by the time it's going to be the next tour, I will have to have another record ready. But you know what happened with the record that I just released? The people probably listened to it for a month, and that's it, because they're waiting for the next one. There's going to be do the same thing too, and it's just going to be left in the forgotten world of Spotify. You know, unfortunately, the fact that you're playing live, you're supporting those songs, you're supporting the music, it kind of like recreates excitement in the fan. And even though, again, as a fan, I would prefer to have, to hear from the people that I like whenever. I'm also a colleague of most of these people, and I'm having to deal with the same reality. So it's sad, but what it is too. If people wouldn't be so complacent in these things, where pretty much it's a given now. The music is for free. In other words, if we go back to pay for records, to pay for music and everything, and will allow the musician of being able to making a living selling records, then I don't think they will have a problem in making a record even once a year. Otherwise, it's just an additional cost to what they already have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, and I was, in the business for a while, and I've made a few records. I know the cost, and I know the time and effort, and it goes into it. I mean, I get that, and especially now doing what I'm doing, professionally, this is my only job, is this, because I'm waiting for stand-up comedy to start coming back around again so I can start getting back out in clubs. But, until then, even then, this will still be my full-time job. But still, I've talked to, countless musicians on this show, and I've got even more coming up in the coming weeks, and some big ones in the pipeline, huge acts in the pipelines. It's there's, regardless of that, I get what you're saying. I 100% agree with you, because it's still a business at the end of the day. If you feel, as a fan.
Sorry to interrupt you. I mean, it. I mean, you work with a record company, you're an artist yourself, you know it.
Yeah.
But it's not a business. It's a business for everybody else around you. If you're the artist, that's your livelihood. That's
correct. Yes. And that's where I was kind of going with it. But like you just said, being that it is their livelihood, if, during this entire time, the only thing that we heard from, the only thing that I heard from my favorite band was, hey, we're not giving you anything until we're ready to tour again. When that does happen in a year or two from now, am I going to say, you know what, you guys abandon us? I'm just saying from a fan's point of view. I'm not saying that's how I view. I'm not saying that's not how I view it, because they're my all-time favorite band. I'm going to forgive them and forget when it comes out. But at the same time, there might not be fans that actually do that. They might be like, you know what, you've been gone for 2-3 years and didn't give us anything when we were sitting at home locked in a house, because you guys couldn't tour. Well, I get that. I still wanted at least one song here and there, but you had to give us a full album. You guys could have given us something that was previously unreleased, that was just recorded 10 years ago, or re-released an album with maybe a few little bonus tracks. But to completely ignore the fans like that, in my opinion, is wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's where I was kind of going with that.
Well, no, actually, if you put it that way, in regards even like beat takes and whatever, that's a great idea. Hey, guys, bands out there, listen to what Derek said. Actually, it's pretty smart, man. You can keep the art, fans happy, and you don't break your bank. And actually, you put some of the music that you put it aside without probably that that it's never going to see the light of the day anyways. Put it out there. You're going to make somebody happy, man. That's actually the cool thing.
Yeah. I mean, because there's actually, two of my other favorite bands, and I'll mention them by name because they're doing good things. A band called Nothing More and a band called Ice Nine Kills. What I love about those two bands is, in the last 10 years, Nothing More has put out 2 albums. And they toured for like 6 years on one album. And they kept doing, an additional release here, an additional release there. Oh, we're going to go ahead and re-release this as only acoustic, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But we're going to constantly be touring. And we still got a bunch of new stuff in the process, but still only based off that one album. And now they're doing it again, with this last album that came out 3 years ago. And they're just now starting to go back into the studio, in the coming months, to put together their next album. And I thought that was fantastic. With the Ice Nine Kills, they released their album 2 years ago, and they released an extended cut earlier this year. And now they're releasing that same album on a live cut, in 8 days, which I cannot wait for. But they're at least giving us something. I mean, they didn't have to. They had a concert that they recorded last year, and they just put it on an album. They said, you know what? Let's give the fans something. We already have it recorded. Might as well just go ahead and do it. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Because again, just you got to stay in this day and age, like you said, to be lost in Spotify world, because you got to stay with the new age of new media, the way social media is, and the way bands are coming out. Bands can literally just have a $1,000 computer, and one guy can put together an entire album in his basement nowadays. And with all that stuff that's coming out, even some of the bigger bands are going to get lost in the shuffle because so many people are coming out with this stuff all the time. So, what I'm saying? It's just, there's so much going on. I think, they don't need to cater to the fans. Absolutely not, because that's not what it's about. But they need to take care of the fans. So that makes any sense.
No, yeah, you're right. Again, it's a touchy thing because doesn't matter which way you see it. there is a pro and a con side.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a tough one because I understand. I mean, as a musician, I'm doing a record. It's your baby. Regardless who you are, it's your baby. So you wanted people to pay attention to it, regardless of the economical end. You want people to listen to it, and because that's it's not to get to get approval, but to see people reaction. It's just like that's what you do. I mean, it's like I'm a painter. I'm painting. I mean, I'm not going to exposing the wall. I mean, I'm not going to put the paint in the closet when nobody can see it. Obviously, I want to have it out. So. I get it, and that's the problem that you're dealing too. It's just like I'm doing something. I wanted to, people to pay attention and just have the chance to enjoy it. But then also, like everything, that gives you a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. Now everybody can do a record, and just put it out there worldwide, and it doesn't really matter if you're good or if you're not. If you actually know how to use communication media and few things about technology, you might end up in having more success. I mean, likes and numbers and all of that, whatever success or whatever thing that means, than the band that pays tens of thousands of dollars worth in marketing because they really do a great job with the record, all that, and then they need a machine to move it around. While you, like you were saying, you buy your $1,000 computer and you do like your $200 recording. And I'm sorry, but I'm coming from the idea. I mean, everybody can do whatever they want. It's a free country, so please. However, just because you can make a record, it doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
So the problem is, we were talking with a bunch of friends of mine, musicians that I'm sure you're familiar to. And one of them, actually, I can mention the name because a friend of mine is an awesome dude, and we indeed had this conversation. Scott Page, who was a famous saxophone player.
I had him on the show, yeah.
And he played, Supertramp with Toto, but is most famous for being Pink Floyd's saxophone player. Well, we were talking about actually Pink Floyd, saying, when people say today, there's no more Pink Floyd, they don't make Pink Floyds no more, they don't make bands like that no more. No, you know what? That's not true. The difference is back then, you needed to be really, really, really good because you couldn't cheat. I mean, if you have to do a record like that, you need to know how to play it. You need to write songs. It was like a big investment. So before people will throw $500,000, because that's probably what it taken to record a full record, in those studios that were like insanely expensive. They want to make sure that you were the real deal. So they will come to see you play live. They will see the reaction of people. They would, let's try to record a couple of songs. Let's see the reaction on the songs until we have everything. So there was some work that went into it. Now, everybody can just get up from the bed and, creating these things where they're doing records and they're putting it out. That doesn't mean that there is not people that put as much passion, craft, and work into their music like Pink Floyd used to do back then. The problem is when Pink Floyd released the record out of EMI, it was just Pink Floyd for 2 months. I mean, sure, there was a bunch of other things, but there was nothing else. Now, if Pink Floyd would release a record today, there's going to be another 45 motherfuckers they're releasing on the same day. So, and that's Pink Floyd. So if you're a band that is equally as good as Pink Floyd, but you are not Pink Floyd and people don't know you, well, good luck in getting noticed. And there, so people are not really exposed to these potentially awesome band because everything evolves. Even musicians, you don't have to be necessarily 60 years old to be a great musician now. I mean, like those guys, they're 60 years old now. They were phenomenal at freaking 20. That's why they made it till 60, being the greatest of the great. So I'm sure that there are 20 years old of it out there, and even younger, then kick ass, but they cannot get a shot because who's going to listen to them? We have like already 40 releases a day. Who has the time to go through everything?
I know I don't.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right across the board. 100% right. The only thing I can hope for, as a fan and someone who is on on the media side of the business, that everything finds a new normal. Because there's not going to be the old normal. The old normal's gone. So now we got to find a new normal. And at the end of the day, artists, crewmen, fans, venue owners, oh, and by the way, aside from all of that, I want to go ahead and just do one quick shout out because I read about this today and I thought it was fucking amazing. Hats off to Miley Cyrus for what she did for Whiskey A Go Go. That concert that she put on, was it last night or 2 nights ago or whatever it was? Charity concert for Whiskey A Go Go. Hats off to her for doing that because that was really, really badass what she did. So I needed to point that out real quick. I'm not a Miley Cyrus fan, but damn it, that was awesome.
I am. I think she's brilliant. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
People are getting pissed. My daughter, I mean, you have to understand that my daughter was like, grew up with Anna Montana.
Me too. Yeah, my daughter too.
Obviously working where we work and my wife doing all the, the movies and all her Disney stuff. We're close to that world. I wasn't necessarily impressed musically, but, it was a good positive vibe. And I saw her growing as an artist. And sure, it goes crazy. And people complain about shit being, crazy on several occasions. Dude, the people that we listened to growing up, I mean, do we need to make comparisons?
Oh, no.
Okay, so who the hell are we to judge that?
No, I don't. I like her. I don't like her music, but I love her. The person. Yes, I'm a big pop person. Yeah,
she always has a double. She always had a double side because she's got pop side, and even her pop stuff, it's done so well, and she performs it so well because she's such a hell of a singer.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. The thing, though, that not many people know is actually Billy Ray Cyrus, her father, is a great classic rock fanatic, even more than country music. I mean, his favorite country music guy is Johnny Cash. So you already know where we're going. It's just like no light stuff. It's not like yeehaw thing. It's just Johnny, Men in Black, man. So only two other guys were. Only another guy was called Men in Black. That was Richie Blackmore. So okay, let's take it with please. So we would play that music around the house. So she grew up on AC/DC, on Def Leppard, on Led Zeppelin, on Aerosmith, and all that stuff. So where do you think her raspy, her thing, and those just phrasings is coming from? So
yeah. Well, I mean, because she during that concert for the charity concert for Whiskey A Go Go, she did a cover of Cranberries' "Zombie," and I watched that, and let me tell you what. Dolores O'Riordan, the lead singer for Cranberries, who passed away a couple years back, I swear to God, was in heaven, embodying Miley and, like clapping. And because let me tell you what, it was so beautiful. It was probably one of the most beautiful covers of that song I have ever heard in my life. And I was uber impressed with her. She, like I said, musically, she is phenomenal. I'm not a pop music person, so I can't, I'm not going to say I love her music because I don't, but I love her as a musician. She's a fantastic musician, fantastic singer, and a fantastic person. She's got a bad rap in the limelight, but she's a fantastic person from everything I know about. But aside from all that, what she did with the that charity concert for that was fantastic. And that dedication to Dolores and doing the Cranberry Zombie, freaking beautiful. Freaking beautiful. But no, I just had to point that out because again, it just goes to show you again that the craft is threatened. Because there are tons of these little venues or the bigger venues or the small but yet worldwide known venues that are at risk of shutting down permanently.
Mm-hmm.
And the new normal needs to find a way to again save those, because again they're just as important. It doesn't matter if it's a little sound stage underneath a parking garage, like it's called literally called Baltimore Soundstage, in Baltimore, about an hour away from where I live. It's a little, small as hell, but underneath a parking garage. But it's one of the badass, sound stages and concert venues in Baltimore. But still, it's like those little things like that. They need to survive because again, they're the ones that gave the Rancids of the world and the Pink Floyds of the world their start back in the day.
Yeah.
And without them, it's gonna slowly fade away until somebody else decides to make a change. So, again, I just hope that regardless of it all, we find a new normal. And everybody at the end of the day gets back to doing what they love, and that's either playing music or listening to music.
Yeah, let's hope so. I'm really like aching on that sense. Like I said, we just finished, Supersonic Blues Machine new record, but now that we have the record, we will have to wait 9 months before we release it, and I don't think the label wants to release anything till probably January. That's not us. So we're probably gonna invent something, but I'm just wanted to go out, play, and meet people. I like to talk and get to know people. Not only fans, but also everybody that works around the shows and all of that. And that's why also I ended up in doing my solo project. It's funny enough that this year in 2020 I was gonna be really busy on both ends, and this happened. So when these kind of things are like this, I can do some studio work and all of that, but kind of like it's like you're preparing something that you're not gonna. It's like you're finishing a painting that you're not gonna be able to show.
Yeah.
So I'm again. We're not going back to it's just again nothing to do with politics itself.
Yeah.
I'm not going either or. I do believe, though, that this the pandemic, I'm not appreciating, meaning no underestimating. I'm sorry, the pandemic. I have friends that had family dying. I know people that got it and almost did. So this is serious. It's not jokes. Affects people in a different way, and also people too that went through it without even knowing it. Okay, so it works in a different way. But I think, unfortunately, for what's going on right now in the country, even all that is so politicized that it just kind of like really it's confusing, and it doesn't even give us the opportunity to start making some plans. I really hope that as soon as the elections are over and we know what's going on, either or one way or the other, I think that a lot of smoke is going to clear.
Yeah.
And I really hope that people will understand that, whether you believe in this thing or not, because it's not, it's a matter of actually showing respect to other people. If you go to a place where somebody's sick, kind of like you don't go, same thing. If you're sick, you don't go to a place where like the elder, this is like normal. It's just freaking normal thinking. I have a friend of mine that runs a cleaning facility, and they do big state contracts. They're in Texas, so they work with oil companies and stuff like that, offices, and even some big clubs. And my friend was telling me, I'm just so glad that actually this thing happened. Not for the the actual pandemic itself, but just because people are starting because of this, they're forced to act the way that they should be acting regardless, because you have no idea on how careless and dirty and unconsiderate a lot of people are, especially in public places. So if we kind of like just think that way, not in terms of like, oh, I believe what my president tells me to do this, or my president tells me not to do this, or but the other guys, just leave that alone. Just use your common sense. You know, do I know if it works? No. Do I know if it doesn't work? No. What does it cost for me, for example, to if I'm close to somebody that I don't know, going to the supermarket, put your mask on, wash your hands, just be distance. That's it. You do that, they let you go into the supermarket. Nobody's telling you anything. Nobody's kicking you out. So, if we start showing that kind of like a consideration for other people and show that we can, even with limited movement, we can function, I don't think it's going to be a problem for people to let us do more, and we say let us do, meaning us pretending to do something, because at that point we will have numbers on our hands to show that, hey, we did everything that we needed to do, and it shows that if we do it, we're cool. So you know what? We learn our lesson. We can start to do a little bit more. Just be smart about it. I don't think it's good to, shut everything down, because it's just pointless. I understand, sure. In the beginning, you don't know what it is, and I understand that you have to go in, big guns. But we're a lot of months in, and again, I know it's very partisan for us to talk about these things. And then I'm not trying to. All the news channels are talking about these things, and I don't want to turn it, like a music conversation into this. But unfortunately, this is something that pretty much killed our business and our life. And it's not. Again, I'm saying the word business is not because I'm one of the, just the money. It's not that. But when I'm saying a livelihood, means people being able to pay their rent or turn on their light. I'm not talking about, buy an Aston Martin or a villa in Malibu or shit like that. I'm talking about the basics. Because if you work for, the New York School District or, Baltimore Sanitation, you're getting a paycheck at the end of the month. You have your healthcare, you have your things, and everything gets taken care of. And if something happens, you still have your work. I mean, if you get sick, whatever, sure, we're not in the best place in the universe to deal with that. But you still have something. Us, if we don't play, nobody's gonna come around and look if we're doing okay or not. And same thing of all the people that are working with us. Again, packer, movers, drivers, stage manager, road manager, techs. It's just a big community. I mean, and again, we're just talking about music now. I mean, I live in Los Angeles. My daughter is, only sings with us and everything, and she's a singer, but she's also an actress. That's a whole different thing. Do you understand how many people in Southern California work in the movie and film and TV industry that are home? They just started to do some stuff now, but it's very, very limited, and it's very taxing because people might have to live away from home to be able to work what they normally would do. So because obviously everybody gets tested every day, try to keep everybody in a facility, and it's really challenging. But at least you know what? The movie industry, I guess, makes so much money, way more money than the music industry, that I think at some point they were able to better lobby against all this. And we're able to kind of like, hey, we're going to spend this money to keep people safe, but you need to let us do what we need to do. And to be honest with you, everything seems to be working. I mean, for my family and my friends that are working in Hollywood, I guess, if we can call it like that, sure, not like before, at least now, but at least there is some things change, and it kind of like it looks promising, and people are getting kind of like the hang in dealing with what look like impositions, and it's part of life now. So, that I think is the only way that will help us to to move forward with that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And the movie and TV industry. Just look at Disney alone. I mean, this year, they're still raking it in. I mean, with, Hulu subscribers, I think Hulu is that like 50 or no, like 90 million subscribers of Hulu, and then another 80 or 90 million of Disney Plus. Disney's just sitting back going, and they're not putting anything out new except for like the new Milan movie and maybe a few things that were done before the pandemic. But they're just so they're the ones that are really kind of pushing exactly what you were just saying to really kind of make that impact and make that difference. We need to get but again, aside from all of that, again, as somebody who's a fan and loves the entertainment industry, so much that I've built this, I'm just, for the last, what is it, 7 months? I've had conversations about, so what do you got going on? Nothing. What are you planning for next year? We're planning by year. No, I want to have some good conversations. And, and these are good conversations, don't get me wrong, but I would love to be able to say, okay, hey, you've got a concert next week. You ready for this? I would love to be able to have that. Or, hey, so you got a new movie coming out. What's the, how's the things going? How is the production? Blah, blah, blah. I would love to be able to have those conversations. But until then, I'm really, really enjoying, talking to the same people that I'm going to be hopefully talking to again next year, but I'm enjoying having just real life conversations, about the business itself and not about one specific project. And, these overall conversations, therefore we can really kind of get to know each other, let people in the back door a little bit and kind of show them behind the curtain and, kind of these really good, raw and honest conversations about stuff that we really don't know much about because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day or the next day. We're hoping for the best and we're being optimistic as fuck, but it's hard to be, all the time. There's going to be some pessimism in there. But at the same time, I just have this huge amount of hope for all of it. Comedy, which is my business, music, TV, movies, I changed my, yeah, I mean, it's just so much, I've been waiting for Marvel because as you can see, my Spider-Man feet over here because I need to readjust my camera, but, I'm waiting for my Marvel movies. That's not going to be until 2021. The May of 2021 is the next Marvel movie. It's like, it's going to be like 2 full years before we've had a movie, it's like, damn. But again, I just want to find that new sense of normal for everyone. Therefore, we can just get back to enjoying what we love, whether, again, regardless of what that is.
Mm-hmm. Well, like on my end, like I was telling you earlier, I'm like really now really pushing my, all this give me the opportunities to work on my solo stuff. So like I mentioned before, I'm learning, to make videos. So I'm kind of having a ball with that. And I mean, I produce plenty of video clips and concerts for DVDs and all of that, but it's the first time that I'm doing things as a cameraman and editor too. I mean, director, camera, and so which kind of sometimes is weird when you have to kind of like you're part of the you're filming yourself and all of that. But it's actually something that. At least for me, I'm just trying to find, that's probably because of my religious belief. I'm a Buddhist, and I'm always trying to find like a lesson in everything. Not trying to find, I mean, it's there. You just have to.
Of course, yeah.
See it. This kind of like actually lockdown, at least for me, obviously, it's really bad for a lot of things. But in one way, it forced me to deal with a bunch of things that I always put on the back burner. And I'm really happy about it. Because if it wasn't for what had happened, I probably would have never finished what I finished. And I would have never picked up really considering and, singing around my stuff. I mean, I'm not a singer. I always do things when we write songs. And obviously I do background vocals, with bands and all of that, but never even consider that. And that was just, everything came out as a joke. And get the time to put it in and just to learn a few things. I'm really, really happy about that and all the other music. And the good thing is like we're trying, we're under trial, for a lot of things. As us for economically, professionally, artistically, so personally, because as an artist everything is connected, and you have all these emotions and depressions and aphorism and all of that. So you're dealing with that, and then the uncertainty of life itself, what's going on politically, not only in the States, around the world, in Nigeria, and and Vietnam, and not Vietnam, sorry, um, uh, where's Bangkok?
Thailand.
Thailand. Okay, see what's going on in Thailand. Okay, I'm getting confused with all these places. I mean, everywhere. I mean, nowhere around the world is just a major arrest. So all these things are happening, and you're in a position where like, fuck, man, it's just at least let me try to do something, positive that will help me move forward. Because I mean, if we only look at the bad things, it's just overwhelming. But there's a lot of good things out there too. So, like I said, I'm really happy of the opportunity that I was given to use this time to reconnect with a bunch of different people, to spend some times even with friends. The good thing was with my first band, Supersonic, my main band, Supersonic Blues Machine. Kenny, myself, and of course my my ladies, and my wife, my daughter, and our musical director, keyboard player. Some of the crews are from Los Angeles, but then we have Chris, our lead singer and guitar player, is from Devon in the UK. We have our second guitar player and my co-writer Serge, that is in Belgrade in Serbia. We have part of the crew out of Italy and some other people out of other places in Europe. So it's like, and some of them are living in Spain. So it's like a worldwide band in that sense, where it was just so pleasant, even just to get on Zoom, not to talk about the show, the tour, the schedule, and all of that, but say, hey man, what's going on? What did you do Sunday? Oh my God, the kid is growing up. Jesus Christ, I haven't seen you 6 months. What happened to? So it's just kind of like really, family time. Basically Thanksgiving dinner without the crazy uncle and without the dinner.
Yeah, I can see that. That's a good point. That's funny. Fabrizio, man, you are awesome, and I have enjoyed this conversation. We've been talking for an hour and a half, man.
Well, yeah, actually, and I need to run because I have 2 more mixes to finish for today.
Yeah,
But I wanted to, if you allow me, I really would like to do a little.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
because actually, it's not only for me. I mean, I'm doing this. Obviously, it's my work and all of that. But there is a good side. Not a good side. There is another side to my solo project. It's called Fabrizio Grossi, like myself, and Soul Garage Experience. You can call it Soul Garage Experience by itself. Don't get offended, because it's a band of musicians. It's a rotation. There's a lot of great friends: Stephen Perkins, Derek Day, Diamond Mix, Alex Alessandroni, and other people rotating to create this thing and to help me out in this project. And really would like for you guys to check it out, because it's beside the message itself, it helps. Everything that happens with with the music of it is going to benefit Guitar for Vets, which is an awesome organization, and then I'm an ambassador for it. Guitar for Vets provide music lessons, guitar, but now also bass and other instruments lessons and therapy to veterans affected the post-traumatic stress disorder. And the results are so fantastic, and it's just so effective that now these therapy sessions, these guitar lessons, are given at DA's facility. If anyone knows the damage and how challenging it is, not only for the persons afflicted by post-traumatic stress disorder, but for her loved ones, families, it's just it's not easy, and it's traumatic, and a lot of people ended up in losing it completely, and becoming homeless, and kind of like losing completely their life after everything that they went through. So these kind of therapy really, really, really works, and we're making people aware, and it's like a growing movement. We're getting support from everybody, and we're really happy with it. And the other one, it's the Upward Bound House, which is part of my own charity. It's called Always at Home. I have this subject topic of homelessness in the United States, especially in my city here in Los Angeles, that it's a terrible. It's just terrible what's going on. And again, I'm not trying to politicize this. A lot of people are accusing the city, the mayor, and and the Californians and liberals and all that kind of stuff. And and the liberals are accusing somebody, but that's not the point. The point is that unfortunately, like in every society, when there is a lot of business and everything is run by money. Gentrification, with education, it's low, and there are differences. And in this case, there are drug abuse, and and even vets that unfortunately are getting down that bad. You kind of like having to deal with a reality that it's not only uh, give the $20 to the homeless person. You need to do something that it's permanent, that allow these people to wanting to go back. Because sure, there is the crazy crackhead. Sure, there's the hoe. But then again, 85% of our homeless are people that did not ask for it. Okay. This being the richest country in the world and having people living like that is just really, to me, just not only unfair, it's unjust, it's brutal. And I'm really happy to be embracing this, I would say, this cause, because I have a bunch of friends from both sides of the aisle that are really supporting it. And Upward Bound House is a non-profit organization here in Los Angeles that helps family that lost their job and their apartments, their homes, and they help them. They put them up in places. They received a bunch of grant. They won a bunch of grant last year. They ended up in buying 2 hotel structure in Santa Monica and turning them into temporary accommodations for homeless family until they getting resituated. So I like to get involved with that. Obviously, there is, in what we're doing and we're trying to do musically, there is part for us too, because obviously we're spending money doing everything that we're doing. But helping us to being able to go out, play music, and all of that means also helping the causes of these guys. So that's something that I really invite you guys to do. And again, the name of the project is Fabrizio Grossi and Sound Garage and Soul Garage Experience. That's the name also of our YouTube channel. And please go visit it. I mean, there's only one video right now, but we're going to have a lot of other videos coming soon. We just started. All this is just brand new, launched from scratch this past Friday. So Fabrizio Grossi and Soul Garage Experience on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. That's also the name of our Facebook fan page. But you can also follow me on Instagram, Soul Garage Fab, and on Twitter, Soul Garage Fab. This first single is called Right Down Below, and it talks exactly about what I was just talking, the challenging of living in the big cities. Basically, it's kind of like almost like the continuation of the story that Stevie Wonder started with Living for the City. It's kind of like 40 years later, unfortunately, we're singing the same song. It's really sad. So, let's see what we can do. Like, if we have each other's back, we should be able to get out of this, these kind of problems. So, guys, once again, Fabrizio Grossi, Soul Garage Experience, first single, right down below in all, Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music, iTunes, YouTube, and whatnot.
Fabrizio, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you. You're an awesome individual, and I have truly enjoyed this conversation, man. So you take care, and I can't wait to hear the new music, man.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys for checking this out. And well, you know what? I guess let's make an appointment in a year from now, like you were saying, that you're going to be talking to the same people that you're talking now. And let me tell you, if they're musicians, they're going to be complaining about something else. as my dear friend Steve Lukather, who's actually yesterday was his birthday, 62nd birthday. So again, happy birthday, Steve. Used to say, how you get a musician to complain? No, get him a gig.
Or just have him open his mouth.
Beautiful. And on that note, bye, everybody.
Have a good night, man. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Woo! That was a fun conversation. All right. Well, that is Thursday. Come back again tomorrow, 8 p.m. East, 5 p.m. West, for a returning guest in Madeline Kay of the band Juliana. I had her on, back in August, with her guitarist, John Stewart, but she's coming on tomorrow. Solo for a little bit of a intimate conversation, just to get her to know her a little bit better and have an overall great conversation with a great person. And then next week, is all music, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. However, Wednesday we've got a very, very famous scream queen. I can't even talk. On Wednesday, and Sadie Katz. She'll be on Wednesday, and then on top of that, we just got a bunch. Thursday we've got the runner-up to last year's The Voice in Australia. Daniel Shaw will be on the show on next Thursday, but Monday is Karma Kids. There's just so much going on next week. I'll announce it all on Instagram here in the next couple days. But come back again tomorrow, like I said, for Madeline K. She's fantastic. And hopefully I'll have my camera and lighting situation figured out because, new camera, new lighting. It happens. Whatever. This was a testing situation. I don't like it. So we're going to, screw some things around and see what happens. But again, tomorrow, 8 p.m. East, 5 p.m. West, Madeline K. Until then, I love you guys. Thank you very much. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. And as always, stay fucking heavy. Peace.